My brother cruelly cheated me out of Christmas. I got revenge by reporting his mortgage fraud. The text came in at 3:47 p.m. on December 18th, right in the middle of my quarterly review meeting with my investment team. I glanced at my phone and saw my brother Michael's name on the screen. Hey everyone, don't come to Christmas this year. Patricia and I decided we want a peaceful holiday with just our family. We don't want any drama. Thanks for understanding, Michael. I stared at the message for a moment, then typed back, understood. My CFO, Sarah Chin, noticed my expression. Everything okay, Mr. Anderson? Just family business, I said, setting my phone aside. Where were we with the residential lending portfolio? Current outstanding loans total $847 million across 2,300 properties, Sarah continued. Default rate remains under 0.3%, and we're seeing strong demand for our private lending services. I nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. 20 minutes later, as the meeting wrapped up, I made a phone call. First National Bank, Private Banking Division. This is Jennifer. Jennifer, this is David Anderson from Phoenix Capital. I need to discuss loan number 2847-5521, the property at 1247 Maple Street. Of course, Mr. Anderson. What can I help you with regarding that account? I'd like to exercise the acceleration clause and call the loan due immediately. There was a pause. Sir, that's a $680,000 mortgage with payments current. Are you sure you want to accelerate? I'm sure. Please prepare the documentation. The borrowers have 30 days to pay in full or face foreclosure proceedings. Understood, sir. We'll process this immediately. I hung up and looked out my office window at the city skyline. Somewhere out there, my brother was preparing for his peaceful Christmas completely unaware that I owned the mortgage on his dream house. The irony wasn't lost on me. Michael had always been the golden child, the successful attorney, the perfect husband, the responsible one who bought a house in the suburbs and started a family. I was the disappointment, the one who dropped out of law school, the one who started a risky investment business, the one who never seemed to settle down. What they didn't know was that my risky investment business had grown into Phoenix Capital, a private lending and real estate investment firm worth $3.2 billion. While they saw me as the family failure, I'd been quietly building an empire. The house at 1247 Maple Street had a special history. 2 years ago, Michael had called me in a panic. He and his wife Patricia had found their dream home, but their conventional mortgage had fallen through at the last minute due to some credit issues from Patricia's previous marriage. David, I need a favor, he'd said. Do you know anyone in private lending? We need $680,000, and the sellers won't extend the closing date. I'd smiled. Actually, I might be able to help. Let me make some calls. What I didn't tell him was that Phoenix Capital had recently started offering private residential mortgages. Instead of revealing that I was the lender, I'd structured the loan through First National Bank, which serviced mortgages for our firm. To Michael and Patricia, it looked like a regular bank loan. They'd been making their monthly payments of $3,200 religiously for 2 years, never knowing they were paying their failure brother rent on their own house. The exclusion from Christmas wasn't sudden. It had been building for months, maybe years. It started with little comments from Patricia about my lifestyle choices, the fact that I wasn't married, didn't have kids, drove an older car despite apparently having money. David just doesn't understand family responsibilities, she'd said at Thanksgiving. It's easy to be carefree when you don't have a mortgage and children to worry about. Michael had nodded along. Some people never grow up, I guess. The comments escalated after I'd missed their son Tommy's birthday party last month. I'd been in Chicago closing a $50 million property acquisition, but to them I was just making excuses. David always has some work emergency, Patricia had complained to my mother. It's like he doesn't even care about family. My mother, ever the peacekeeper, had defended me. Patricia, David works very hard. His business is doing well. Is it though? Patricia had shot back. He still lives in that tiny apartment. He still drives that old car. If his business was really successful, wouldn't he show it? What they didn't understand was that I lived modestly by choice. My tiny apartment was actually a penthouse I owned in one of downtown's most exclusive buildings. My old car was a perfectly maintained classic that I preferred to flashy new vehicles. I'd learned early in my business career that wealth whispers. It doesn't shout. But to Patricia and Michael, appearances were everything. Their $4,500 a month mortgage payment was a status symbol. Their new BMW lease payments were worth the financial stress because of how the car looked in their driveway. Their maxed-out credit cards were justified by the lifestyle they wanted to project. The Christmas exclusion text had been carefully crafted. I could tell Michael had written it to sound reasonable and mature. "We want a peaceful holiday," made it seem like I was the problem, the source of drama that needed to be avoided. The timing was deliberate to December 18th, late enough that I couldn't make other plans, but early enough that they could claim they'd given me notice. But what really got to me was the assumption. They'd assumed I'd be devastated. They'd assumed I'd begged to be included. They'd assumed I had nowhere else to go and nothing else to do. They were wrong on all counts. I spent the evening reviewing Michael's loan file. The original application showed a household income of $180,000. Good money, but not enough to comfortably afford a $680,000 house plus their other expenses. Patricia's credit score had been 640 due to a previous bankruptcy. Michael's debt-to-income ratio was borderline. Any conventional lender would have required a larger down payment or a CO signer. Phoenix Capital had approved the loan because I knew Michael's employment was stable and because, honestly, I wanted to help my brother achieve his dream. Now I was wondering if that had been a mistake. The next morning, I had my assistant pull all the records on 1247 Maple Street. What I found was interesting. Michael and Patricia had refinanced their first mortgage 6 months after closing, pulling out $40,000 in equity for home improvements, except the city records showed no permits for major renovations. They'd also taken out a home equity line of credit for another $60,000. According to their social media posts, they'd used that money for a European vacation and a new swimming pool. Their total debt on the house was now $780,000, more than the current market value of $750,000. They were underwater and leveraged to the hilt. Most concerning was the payment history. While the mortgage payments had been on time, they'd been consistently late, usually by 10 to 15 days each month. The late fees were adding up. I called my property manager. "Marcus, I need you to drive by 1247 Maple Street and give me a condition report." "Is this about the Anderson property?" Marcus asked. He'd been handling my residential investments for 5 years and knew my family situation. "Yes. I want to know what shape the house is in." Marcus called back 2 hours later. "Mr. Anderson, I've got some concerns. The exterior paint is peeling, the gutters are damaged, and the landscaping is severely neglected. There's also what looks like pool equipment scattered around the backyard. Any neighbors willing to talk?" I spoke with Mrs. Johnson next door. She mentioned that there have been some loud parties lately, and she's concerned about property values in the neighborhood. I hung up and made another call to Jennifer at First National. "Jennifer, I need the payment history on loan 2847 to 5521. Specifically, I want to know about late fees and any missed payments." Let me pull that up. "Mr. Anderson, the borrowers have been consistently late with payments, never more than 30 days, so we haven't reported it to credit agencies, but they've paid $4,800 in late fees over the past year. Have they contacted you about any payment difficulties?" "Not officially, but the last time Mrs. Anderson called, she asked about payment deferral options. She didn't follow through with an application, though." The picture was becoming clear. Michael and Patricia were living beyond their means, using their house as an ATM, and struggling to keep up with payments. They were one financial emergency away from default. On December 23rd, I received another text from Michael. "Just wanted to confirm you're not planning to show up tomorrow. Patricia has been stressed about the possibility." I stared at the message for a long time. Patricia was stressed about the possibility of me showing up to Christmas at my own family gathering. I typed back, "Don't worry, I'll be spending Christmas elsewhere." That was true. I'd made reservations at the Four Seasons in Aspen, where I'd be spending a long weekend skiing and enjoying room service. It would be more relaxing than dealing with family drama. But first, I had one more call to make. "Jennifer, it's David Anderson. I want to expedite the foreclosure process on 1247 Maple Street." "Sir, are you sure? It's Christmas Eve." "I'm sure." "How quickly can we move?" "With the 30-day acceleration clause, we can file foreclosure papers on January 24th if they don't pay the full balance. Given that it's $680,000, it's unlikely they can secure those funds." "Perfect. Please prepare all the documentation." I flew to Aspen on Christmas morning and spent 3 days enjoying world-class skiing and 5-star dining. I didn't think about Michael or Patricia or family drama. I focused on the beautiful mountains and the peaceful solitude. On December 28th, while I was having breakfast on my hotel balcony, my phone rang. "Who is my mother?" "David, honey, where are you? Michael said you didn't come to Christmas." "I'm in Aspen, Mom. Having a wonderful time." "Aspen? That sounds expensive." I laughed. "It's not too bad. David, I need to ask you something. Michael got some kind of legal notice about his house. Something about his mortgage being called due. Do you know anything about private lending? He's panicking. I took a sip of my coffee and looked out at the snow-covered peaks. What kind of notice? Something about Phoenix Capital demanding full payment of his mortgage. He says he has 30 days to pay $680,000, or they'll foreclose. David, that's impossible. No one has that kind of money just sitting around. Phoenix Capital, you said? Yes. Have you heard of them? Michael's trying to find out who owns the company, but they're very secretive. Mom, Phoenix Capital is my company. Silence. What do you mean your company? I own Phoenix Capital. It's my business. And Michael is correct. He has 30 days to pay his mortgage in full. More silence. David, are you saying you own Michael's mortgage? I've owned it since the day he bought the house, when he called me 2 years ago asking for help with private lending. I didn't arrange a loan for him. I gave him a loan. But why didn't you tell him? Because he didn't ask. He assumed I was just making calls on his behalf. I let him think that. And now you're foreclosing on your own brother. I set down my coffee cup. Mom, let me ask you something. Do you think it's appropriate for Michael to exclude me from Christmas because I caused drama? Do you think it's okay for Patricia to tell people that I don't understand family responsibilities? That I'm immature because I don't have their lifestyle? That's not the same thing as taking someone's house, is it? They've spent 2 years looking down on me, assuming I was unsuccessful, treating me like the family disappointment, all while living in a house that I bought for them. They didn't know exactly. They didn't know, so they felt free to treat me however they wanted. Now they know. My mother must have called Michael immediately after our conversation because my phone started ringing 20 minutes later. I let it go to voicemail. The first message was Michael and his voice was shaking. David, Mom told me about Phoenix Capital. Please call me back. We need to talk. The second message came an hour later. David, please, I know you're angry about Christmas, but this is our house. Our kids live here. Please call me. The third message was Patricia crying. David, I don't understand what's happening. Michael says you own our mortgage. That can't be right. Please call us back. By the end of the day, I had 12 voicemails and 37 text messages. I ignored them all and went skiing. On December 30th, Michael drove to my apartment building. He didn't know I was still in Aspen, so he waited in the lobby for 3 hours before the doorman told him I was out of town. He left a note. David, I'm sorry about Christmas. I made a mistake. Please don't take our house. We can work this out, Michael. On December 31st, Patricia posted on Facebook. If anyone knows David Anderson or has connections with Phoenix Capital, please message me. We're facing foreclosure due to a misunderstanding. The irony of Patricia asking for help finding me while simultaneously not knowing I owned the company foreclosing on her house was not lost on my friends, several of whom called to ask if I'd seen the post. On January 2nd, Michael went to First National Bank and demanded to speak with someone about his mortgage. Jennifer told him that all decisions regarding Phoenix Capital loans had to be made by the company directly. How do I contact Phoenix Capital? Michael asked. You can submit a written request for loan modification to their corporate office, Jennifer replied, handing him a form. Michael filled out the form requesting a meeting with Phoenix Capital CEO to discuss his mortgage situation. The form landed on my desk the next morning. I returned from Aspen on January 3rd, rested and clear-headed. My assistant handed me a stack of messages, 47 from family members, 12 from First National Bank, and 6 from attorneys Michael had apparently consulted about fighting the foreclosure. I called Jennifer first. Mr. Anderson, the borrowers have been calling daily. They're requesting a loan modification meeting. Set it up for January 15th at 2 p.m., conference room A. Should I tell them who they'll be meeting with? Just tell them they'll be meeting with the decision maker. Next, I called my attorney. David, I've been getting calls from some lawyer representing your brother. He's claiming the foreclosure is retaliatory and asking about family relationships between Phoenix Capital and the borrower. What did you tell him? I told him that Phoenix Capital makes lending decisions based solely on contractual obligations and payment history. The borrower violated the acceleration clause, so the loan is due. Good. Any legal issues? None. The contract is ironclad and they've been consistently late with payments. You're on solid legal ground. January 15th arrived cold and snowy. I dressed in my best suit and arrived at the Phoenix Capital offices early to prepare for the meeting. At 2 p.m. sharp, Michael and Patricia arrived with their attorney, a nervous-looking man named James Peterson. My assistant escorted them to conference room A, where I was waiting at the head of the table. The look on their faces when they saw me was worth the entire ordeal. David, Patricia whispered, what are you doing here? I'm the CEO of Phoenix Capital, I said calmly. Please sit down. Michael was staring at me like he'd seen a ghost. You're the CEO? I'm the founder and majority owner. Yes. They sat down slowly, their attorney looking confused. Mr. Anderson, Peterson said, I wasn't aware you had a personal relationship with my clients. They're my brother and sister-in-law, I replied, which makes this situation particularly disappointing. Michael found his voice. David, I don't understand. How long have you owned Phoenix Capital? I started it after I dropped out of law school.
But you said you were making calls on our behalf when we needed the mortgage.
No, Michael, you said you needed help with private lending. I helped you. I just didn't specify that the help was coming directly from me. Patricia was starting to cry. David, we had no idea. If you'd known what? That I was successful, that I owned a multi-billion-dollar company. Would you have treated me differently? Of course. So you only treat people well when you think they're successful. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Michael leaned forward. David, about Christmas? What about Christmas? I made a mistake. I was wrong to exclude you. Why? Because you're family. I was family on December 18th when you sent that text. What's changed? Michael looked at his hands. We didn't know who you were. You knew exactly who I was. I'm your brother. That should have been enough. I opened the folder in front of me. Let's discuss your mortgage situation. Peterson pulled out his legal pad. My clients are requesting a loan modification. Your clients are requesting mercy, I interrupted. Let's be honest about what this is. Michael nodded. David, we're asking for mercy. Tell me why I should show you mercy. Because we're family, Patricia said. You excluded me from Christmas because I caused drama. You told people I don't understand family responsibilities. You treated me like an embarrassment for 2 years while living in a house I bought for you. We didn't know, Michael said quietly. Would it have mattered if I'd been working at McDonald's? Would I have deserved more respect then? They were both crying now. David, Michael said, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We were wrong about everything. What specifically were you wrong about? We judged you based on appearances. We assumed you weren't successful because you don't show off. We treated you badly because we thought we were better than you, and we excluded you from Christmas because Patricia was embarrassed by you. Patricia looked up sharply. Michael, it's true, he continued. She was embarrassed that her friends might meet you and think less of our family. Is that true, Patricia? She nodded, sobbing. I thought you were a loser. I'm so sorry. I looked at both of them for a long moment. They were broken, humbled, and finally seeing me clearly for the first time in years. Here are my terms, I said finally. First, the mortgage stays in place, but I'm reducing the interest rate from 4.8% to 2.9%. That will save you about $800 per month. They looked up, hope flickering in their eyes. Second, you'll refinance with a conventional lender within 2 years. I don't want to be your mortgage holder long term. We can do that, Michael said quickly. Third, no more late payments. One late payment and the acceleration clause goes back into effect. Understood. Fourth, you're going to apologize to Mom for making her think her son was heartless enough to steal his brother's house. Of course. And fifth, I said standing up, you're going to host a make-up Christmas dinner in February. You're going to invite the whole family, and you're going to publicly acknowledge that you misjudged me. Yes, Patricia said immediately. Yes, absolutely. And Patricia, you're going to explain to your friends that your brother-in-law is actually quite successful, and you're proud to be part of his family. She nodded vigorously. I closed the folder. Mr. Peterson, please prepare the loan modification paperwork. 2.9% interest rate. All other terms remain the same. As they gathered their things to leave, Michael turned back to me. David, yes, thank you, and I'm sorry, really truly sorry. I know you are, Michael. I just needed you to understand. The make-up Christmas dinner was held on February 14th, Valentine's Day, which Patricia said was symbolic of renewed family love. The entire extended family was there, including cousins, aunts, and uncles. Before dinner, Michael stood up to make a toast. I want to tell you all about my brother David, he said. For years, I thought I was the successful one in the family. I'm a lawyer, I have a nice house, I drive a good car. I looked down on David because he didn't have those things. The room was quiet. What I didn't know was that David owns Phoenix Capital, one of the most successful investment firms in the state. He's worth more than all of us combined. But more importantly, when Patricia and I needed help buying our house, David helped us without asking for credit or recognition. He looked at me. David, I'm sorry for judging you. I'm sorry for excluding you from Christmas, and I'm proud to be your brother." The room erupted in applause, and several relatives came over to congratulate me and ask about my business. Later, as we were cleaning up, Patricia pulled me aside. "David, I owe you an apology too. You already apologized. Not properly. I was horrible to you. I said terrible things. I made assumptions about your life without ever bothering to get to know you. Patricia, let me finish. I want you to know that I've been thinking about why I acted that way, and I think it's because I was insecure about our own financial situation. It was easier to look down on you than to admit we were struggling. Are you still struggling? Less now, thanks to the lower mortgage payment. But David, I learned something important. Success isn't about what car you drive or how big your house is. It's about what you build and how you treat people. That's very wise. I learned it from watching you handle this whole situation. You could have destroyed us, but instead you taught us a lesson and gave us a second chance." A year later, Michael and Patricia successfully refinanced their mortgage with a conventional lender. They'd improved their credit scores, paid down their other debts, and increased their home's value with actual improvements. We now have monthly family dinners at rotating houses, and Patricia genuinely enjoys introducing me to her friends as her successful brother-in-law. Michael still practices law, but he's also started investing in real estate with my guidance. He's learning that building wealth is about patience and smart decisions, not just earning a high salary. Most importantly, they both learned that family is about more than appearances or success metrics. It's about showing up for each other, especially when it's not convenient or glamorous. The best part? Last Christmas, when they sent out invitations for their annual party, mine was the first one in the mail. Sometimes the most powerful lesson you can teach someone is what it feels like to lose what they take for granted. In this case, they almost lost their house, but more importantly, they almost lost their brother. I'm glad they chose to keep both. Looking back on everything that happened, I feel a strange mix of vindication, relief, and quiet pride. Not the flashy kind, but the kind that settles deep in your chest when you know you've stayed true to yourself. For years, I swallowed the subtle and not-so-subtle digs about my life choices, my car, my apartment, my silence about money. I let them think I was the underachiever because correcting them felt pointless. Success to me was never about proving a point. It was about building something real, something lasting. But when that text came, excluding me from Christmas like I was an inconvenience, I felt something shift. It wasn't just anger, it was clarity. Calling the loan wasn't about cruelty, it was about consequence. They needed to feel the weight of their assumptions, the fragility of the life they flaunted while standing on ground I'd quietly paid for. Watching them scramble, hearing the panic in their voices, seeing Patricia cry in that conference room, it hurt. But it also healed something. For the first time they saw me. Not the dropout, not the odd one out, but the brother who had carried them without ever asking for thanks. And when they apologized, not just with words but with actions, with humility, with real change, I didn't gloat. I forgave. Because family isn't a trophy to be won or a status to defend. It's a choice you keep making, even when it's hard. Now, when we sit down for family dinner and Michael passes the potatoes, or Patricia brags about my brother-in-law, the CEO, I don't smile because I won. I smile because we all did. They learned humility. I learned boundaries. And together we remembered what actually matters. I still drive the same old car. I still live in the same penthouse no one knows is a penthouse. But now, when I look in the mirror, I don't just see a quiet billionaire. I see a brother who was finally heard,